On a cold evening in New York City, Ethan Carter, a self-made millionaire, was driving through the dimly lit streets of Brooklyn. Fresh out of a high-stakes business meeting, his mind was occupied with deals and deadlines, until he stopped at a red light and caught sight of a woman sitting on the sidewalk. She was bundled in an oversized coat, her arms wrapped protectively around two small children. Their clothes were tattered, their faces marked with exhaustion. Something about her posture, the way she held herself despite the hardship, tugged at Ethan's memory. Then, he saw it, a gold ring on her finger, glinting under the streetlight. His breath hitched. That ring. He knew that ring. A flood of memories crashed over him. It was the same ring he had given to Olivia Harper a decade ago, the love of his life before fate cruelly tore them apart. Back then, they had been inseparable. High school sweethearts with dreams of building a life together. But when Ethan received a scholarship to an Ivy League university, Olivia had encouraged him to chase his ambitions. They promised to stay in touch, but life had other plans. His studies turned into a demanding career, and their love story faded into silence. Yet here she was, sitting on the cold pavement with two children clinging to her. How had she ended up like this? Without a second thought, Ethan pulled over and stepped out, his heart racing. "Olivia," he called out hesitantly. She looked up, her tired blue eyes meeting his. Shock flickered across her face before she quickly turned away, as if ashamed. "Olivia, it's me, Ethan," he said softly, kneeling in front of her. Tears welled up in her eyes, and her lips trembled. "Ethan. I never thought I'd see you again." "What happened?" he asked, glancing at the children, who looked up at him with curious eyes. She hesitated, then sighed. "Life happened." Through broken whispers, she told him about the struggles she had faced, how she had married a man who later abandoned her, leaving her with nothing but debt and two children to care for. She had lost her home, her job, and every ounce of stability she once had. Ethan's chest tightened. This was Olivia, the woman he had once planned a future with. And now, she was struggling to survive. Without another thought, he made a decision. "Come with me," he said gently. "Let me help you." She hesitated. "Ethan, I can't just." "You can," he interrupted firmly. "You don't have to do this alone anymore." For the first time in years, hope flickered in Olivia's eyes. She looked at her children, then back at Ethan, and slowly nodded. That night, Ethan didn't just offer her shelter, he offered her a second chance. And as they drove away from the cold streets, he knew one thing for certain: fate had brought them back together for a reason. Over the next few days, Ethan arranged everything. He got Olivia and her twins a comfortable place to stay in a luxury apartment complex, set up medical checkups, and even hired a nanny to help her with the kids. But beyond financial help, he wanted to give her something more: dignity, independence, and the confidence she once had. At first, Olivia struggled to adjust. She wasn't used to accepting help, especially from Ethan, who now lived in a world far different from hers. But every time she hesitated, he reminded her, "This isn't charity, Olivia. It's me making up for lost time." The twins, Mia and Noah, quickly warmed up to him. They followed him around, giggling as he bought them new clothes and toys, something they hadn't experienced in years. Watching them, Ethan felt something stir in his heart, an unfamiliar warmth, a longing for something he never knew he wanted. One evening, as they sat in the apartment's cozy living room, Olivia finally asked, "Why are you doing all this, Ethan?" He turned to her, his expression serious. "Because I never stopped caring, Olivia. And because I can't just walk away knowing you're struggling." Tears welled in her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. "I feel like I don't deserve this," she whispered. "You deserve so much more," he said firmly. "You always have." Days turned into weeks, and Olivia started finding her footing again. With Ethan's encouragement, she took job training classes and rediscovered her passion for graphic design. It wasn't long before she landed a remote job with a top agency, something she had once only dreamed of. One evening, after putting the twins to bed, Olivia and Ethan sat on the balcony, sipping tea as the city lights twinkled below. The air between them was thick with unspoken emotions. "Ethan," she began hesitantly, "do you ever think about us?" He looked at her, his gaze deep and searching. "Every single day," he admitted. She swallowed hard. "A lot has changed." "Yes," he agreed. "But some things haven't." A silence stretched between them, filled with memories of what once was and the possibilities of what could be. Then, with a soft smile, Ethan reached for her hand, the same hand that still wore the ring he had given her years ago. "We lost time, Olivia," he said. "But maybe, just maybe, we can find it again." A single tear slipped down her cheek, but this time, it wasn't from sadness, it was from hope. And as Ethan gently intertwined his fingers with hers, they both knew that sometimes, love never truly fades, it just waits for the right moment to return. In the weeks that followed, Olivia and Ethan fell into an effortless rhythm. She thrived in her new job, growing more confident with each passing day, and the twins adored Ethan, treating him like family. But amidst the warmth and laughter, an unspoken tension lingered, one neither of them dared to address. One crisp autumn evening, Ethan invited Olivia and the twins to dinner at his penthouse. He cooked himself, something she had never seen him do before. "I may be a millionaire," he joked, "but I still remember how to make a decent pasta." As they sat around the dining table, Mia and Noah chattered excitedly about school, their small voices filling the space with joy. Olivia watched them with a soft smile, but her gaze kept drifting to Ethan. There was something different about tonight, the way he looked at her, the way his hand lingered just a second longer when he passed her the breadbasket. After the twins had fallen asleep on the couch, Ethan and Olivia stepped onto the balcony, wrapped in the cool night air. The city stretched before them, endless and full of possibilities. Ethan turned to her, his voice quiet but firm. "Olivia. I need to ask you something." She looked up, her heart racing. "What is it?" He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I don't want to just be the guy who helped you get back on your feet. I don't want to just be a friend to the twins. I want more." Her breath hitched. "Ethan. I know it's complicated," he continued, stepping closer. "I know we've both been through a lot. But I never stopped loving you, Olivia. And I think I've fallen in love with you all over again." Tears welled in her eyes. She had dreamed of hearing those words, but fear still gripped her. "Ethan, I'm not the same girl you loved back then. I have responsibilities. I have a family," he finished for her, his gaze unwavering. "And I want to be part of it." A single tear slid down her cheek as she whispered, "Are you sure?" He gently wiped it away, his touch sending a shiver down her spine. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." For a long moment, she just stared at him, the man who had re-entered her life when she needed him most. Then, with a deep breath, she stepped closer, resting her forehead against his. "Okay," she whispered. Ethan smiled, his arms wrapping around her as he pulled her into a warm embrace. And in that moment, Olivia realized something. Sometimes, love wasn't just about finding the right person. It was about finding them again, at the right time. As the city lights sparkled around them, she finally let herself believe in second chances. Over the next few months, Ethan became more than just a presence in Olivia's life, he became part of her family. He picked the twins up from school, attended parent-teacher meetings with her, and even learned how to braid Mia's hair, though his first few attempts were disastrous. Olivia found herself smiling more, laughing freely, something she hadn't done in years. But deep down, a small voice of doubt lingered. Could this happiness really last? One evening, while the twins were at a friend's birthday party, Ethan took Olivia to a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. The soft glow of string lights reflected in her eyes as she gazed at him. You've been quiet tonight, Ethan noted, reaching for her hand. Something on your mind? She hesitated before speaking. Ethan, what if this doesn't work out? He frowned slightly. What do you mean? I mean, I've been hurt before. My ex, he made promises too. He said he'd always be there, that he loved me. And then one day, he was gone, leaving me with nothing but 2 babies and a pile of debt. Her voice wavered. I can't go through that again. I can't let my kids go through that. Ethan tightened his grip on her hand. Olivia, I'm not him. I would never abandon you or the twins. But what if? He interrupted her gently. I love you, Olivia. And I love Mia and Noah like they're my own. I want to build a future with you, not just for a few months, not just until things get hard, but for good. Tears welled in her eyes. Ethan. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a delicate gold band, simple yet elegant. Her breath hitched as he slid it onto her finger, right next to the old ring she still wore. I'm not just saying this, I'm proving it, he said, his voice steady. This isn't about fixing the past. It's about building a future. A real one. Together. A sob escaped her lips, but it was one of relief, of joy. She nodded through her tears, unable to find words. Ethan cupped her face, brushing a soft kiss against her forehead before whispering, We deserve this, Olivia. Let's take this second chance. And as she looked into his eyes, the city lights sparkling around them, she finally let go of her fears. Because sometimes, love isn't just about who you lose, it's about who finds you again, right when you need them the most. In the months that followed, Olivia and Ethan built a life together, one filled with love, laughter, and a renewed sense of hope. Ethan officially moved Olivia and the twins into his home, transforming one of his penthouse suites into a warm and cozy space filled with family photos, toys, and the comforting chaos of everyday life. Mia and Noah began calling him Ethan at first, but one day, while watching a movie together, Noah sleepily mumbled, "Night, Dad," before dozing off in Ethan's arms. Olivia had frozen, eyes wide, but Ethan only smiled, pressing a kiss to the boy's head. "Night, buddy," he whispered back. It was in those little moments that Olivia realized Ethan wasn't just stepping into her life, he was becoming part of it in ways she never expected. But just when everything seemed perfect, the past came knocking. One rainy afternoon, Olivia received a message from an unknown number. "We need to talk. It's urgent." Her heart clenched as she stared at the name below it. Ryan. The man who had abandoned her. The twins' biological father. She felt her entire world tilt. What did he want? After all these years of silence, why now? Ethan noticed her pale expression immediately. "Olivia? What's wrong?" She hesitated, then handed him the phone. His jaw tightened as he read the name. Ryan. "I don't know what to do," she admitted, her voice shaking. "What if he wants to take the twins? What if?" Ethan took her hands firmly in his. "He doesn't get to walk back in and take anything. You're their mother. You've been the one raising them, loving them, protecting them. He lost the right to have a say the day he walked away." Olivia swallowed hard. "But if he fights for them, legally?" "Then we fight harder," Ethan said without hesitation. "You're not alone in this, Olivia. You never will be again." His unwavering support steadied her, and for the first time, she felt strong enough to face her past head-on. When she finally met Ryan at a cafe, he looked almost the same, except for the regret in his eyes. "Olivia," he started, but she cut him off. "Why are you here?" He sighed, running a hand through his unkempt hair. "I messed up. I know that. I left because I was scared, but I've changed. I want to be in my kids' lives." Olivia felt anger bubble in her chest. You don't just get to want after disappearing for 6 years. I know. But I need to try. She clenched her fists, but before she could respond, a familiar voice spoke from behind her. She's not doing this alone. Ryan turned, and his expression darkened when he saw Ethan standing there. Who the hell are you? Ryan snapped. The man who's been here when you weren't, Ethan said calmly. The man who's loved and cared for those kids like his own. And I'm telling you right now, you don't get to waltz back in and shake their world just because you suddenly feel guilty. Ryan's jaw tightened. I still have rights. Ethan smirked. Then I hope you have a damn good lawyer. Ryan paled, realizing that Ethan wasn't just any man, he was a powerful one. Olivia stood, looking Ryan straight in the eyes. You lost the privilege of being their father a long time ago. You don't get to break their hearts again. If you truly care, you'll leave them be. Ryan looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Olivia's fierce expression told him he had already lost. With a heavy sigh, he nodded, his shoulders slumping. Take care of them, he murmured before walking away. Olivia let out a shaky breath as Ethan wrapped an arm around her. It's over, he whispered. She turned to him, eyes filled with unshed tears. You really meant it, didn't you? Meant what? That you'd fight for us. Ethan cupped her face, brushing his thumb over her cheek. Olivia, I'd fight the whole world for you and those kids. Tears spilled over, but this time, they were happy ones. And as she leaned into him, she knew, Ethan wasn't just her second chance. He was home. As the months passed, Olivia, Ethan, and the twins settled into a life that no longer felt temporary, it felt real, solid, like a foundation built to last. Olivia no longer flinched when she looked over her shoulder, fearing the past would catch up to her. She no longer doubted that she and her children were safe, protected, and most importantly, loved. Ethan had proven himself in more ways than she could count. He wasn't just there for the big moments, like Mia's first ballet recital or Noah's soccer tryouts, he was there for the quiet ones, too. Making breakfast on sleepy Sunday mornings, helping with homework at the dining table, carrying the twins to bed when they dozed off on the couch. One evening, after putting the kids to sleep, Olivia found Ethan on the balcony, gazing at the city lights with a thoughtful expression. She stepped beside him, wrapping her arms around herself as the cool night air wrapped around them. Penny for your thoughts. He turned to her, a small smile playing at his lips. I was just thinking about how much has changed. She smiled softly. Good changes, I hope. The best. He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. Olivia, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Her heart stuttered. Ethan. He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. Her breath hitched as he dropped to one knee. From the moment I saw you again on that street, I knew fate had given me a second chance, he said, his voice steady, his eyes shining with love. Not just with you, but with Mia and Noah. You three are my home, my family. And I don't ever want to spend another day without you. Tears welled in her eyes as he opened the box, revealing a stunning yet elegant ring. Olivia Harper, will you marry me? A tear slipped down her cheek, but she was already nodding before she could even find her voice. Yes, she whispered, then louder, yes, Ethan. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, then stood, cupping her face and kissing her with all the love he had been holding in his heart for years. Behind them, small voices squealed. Mommy's getting married. They turned to find Mia and Noah standing at the balcony door, grinning with excitement. Ethan scooped them both into his arms, laughing. What do you guys think? Should I marry your mom? Mia giggled. Only if we get to be in the wedding. Noah puffed his chest. And I get to wear a suit like you. Olivia laughed, her heart overflowing. She reached out, wrapping her arms around all three of them, feeling the completeness she had once thought was impossible. Ethan kissed the top of her head. Looks like we have a wedding to plan. And for the first time in a long time, Olivia knew, this was her happily ever after. The months that followed were a whirlwind of love, laughter, and wedding preparations. Olivia had never dreamed of a fairy tale wedding. After all, she had spent years just trying to survive. But Ethan had other plans. I want to give you the wedding you deserve, he had said one evening as they sat together, going through venue options. She had chuckled. As long as it includes Mia and Noah, I don't need anything fancy. Ethan had smiled. Then we'll make it about family. And that's exactly what they did. The ceremony was held in a beautiful garden overlooking the New York skyline. Fairy lights twinkled above, casting a golden glow over the intimate gathering of friends and loved ones. Mia and Noah had their special roles, Mia as the flower girl, twirling in her pretty pink dress, and Noah as the ring bearer, standing tall in his tiny tuxedo, grinning from ear to ear. As Olivia walked down the aisle, her heart pounded. She wasn't just walking toward Ethan, she was walking toward a future she had once thought was impossible. Ethan's eyes glistened with emotion as he took her hands in his. I never thought I'd get a second chance with you, he whispered. But I promise to never waste another moment. Tears slipped down Olivia's cheeks, but she was smiling. You already kept that promise, Ethan. The vows were simple but heartfelt, and when the officiant finally announced, you may kiss the bride, Ethan didn't hesitate. He pulled Olivia close, pressing his lips to hers as their family and friends erupted into cheers. Married life was everything Olivia never knew she needed. The twins adjusted quickly, already calling Ethan Dad without hesitation. Their home was filled with the sounds of laughter, late-night stories, and weekend adventures. One evening, as they sat curled up on the couch, Ethan glanced at Olivia, a mischievous glint in his eyes. So, how do you feel about adding one more to our little family? Olivia blinked. One more. He placed a gentle hand on her stomach. I mean, maybe one day. Her heart swelled. She had thought her life was complete, but with Ethan, she realized that love had a way of expanding beyond what she ever imagined. She smiled, resting her hand over his. I think that sounds perfect. And as they sat there, wrapped in love and laughter, Olivia knew, this wasn't just a second chance. This was the life she was always meant to have. Months turned into a year, and Olivia, Ethan, and the twins settled into a beautiful rhythm that felt like they were finally, completely, home. Their life was filled with the small moments that made it all worth it, Mia's first recital, Noah's graduation to a bigger school, family trips to the beach, and evenings spent in the warmth of their cozy home, surrounded by love. One chilly winter morning, after Ethan had left for a business trip, Olivia found herself in a quiet moment of reflection. She ran her fingers over the photo of their wedding day, the memory still fresh in her mind, the laughter, the vows, the promises that had already been fulfilled. It was as if their family had always been meant to be, as if time had simply been waiting for them to catch up. And then came the news that would change everything. It started with a simple visit to the doctor, just a routine checkup. But when Olivia sat in the office, waiting for the results of a test she hadn't even realized was coming, she felt the weight of anticipation. When the doctor entered, a gentle smile on her face, Olivia's heart skipped a beat. Olivia, everything looks great. You're expecting, the doctor said, handing her the test results. For a moment, Olivia couldn't move, couldn't speak. The reality of it hit her like a wave, and she was flooded with emotions, joy, disbelief, wonder. She was pregnant. After everything they'd been through, after the years of struggles, of fighting for their family, she and Ethan were going to be parents again. Later that evening, as Ethan returned home, Olivia waited for him in the living room, a soft smile on her face. The twins had already run up to their rooms, and the house was quiet, save for the soft glow of the fireplace. Ethan walked in, a tired smile on his face, and she didn't even give him a chance to ask about his day. Ethan, I have something to tell you, she said, holding out the envelope with the test results. He frowned, confused, as he took the envelope from her and opened it. His eyes scanned the paper, then slowly lifted to meet hers, a look of complete astonishment spreading across his face. You're pregnant?" he asked, as if he couldn't quite believe the words. Olivia nodded, tears already brimming in her eyes. "Yes. We're going to have another baby, Ethan." And in that moment, the weight of their journey together, their struggles, their love, the life they'd built, felt like it had all led them to this new beginning. Ethan reached out, pulling her into a hug, his voice thick with emotion. "I can't believe this. I can't believe how lucky we are." Olivia held onto him tightly, feeling her heart swell with love. "I love you so much, Ethan. I love our family. And now, we get to add to it." Over the next few months, their lives adjusted to the idea of expanding their family. Mia and Noah were ecstatic when they found out they would have a new sibling. The house was filled with excitement as they prepared the nursery, picked out baby names, and eagerly anticipated the arrival of their new addition. The day Olivia went into labor, the family rallied together in a way that felt like a true reflection of their bond. Ethan held Olivia's hand through every contraction, his presence grounding her as the hours passed. Mia and Noah, old enough now to understand what was happening, stayed by their side, offering words of encouragement and holding Olivia's other hand. When the moment finally came, when Olivia held their newborn daughter for the first time, all of their past struggles, the fear, the heartache, all of it melted away in the glow of new life. "She's perfect," Ethan whispered, his voice full of awe as he looked at their daughter, his eyes filled with tears. Olivia smiled through her exhaustion, tears streaming down her face as she looked at her daughter, then at Ethan. "Our family is perfect," she said softly. And in that moment, Olivia knew with every fiber of her being that their journey, which had once seemed like a series of impossible obstacles, had led them to this, an unbreakable family built on love, resilience, and second chances. As they sat together in the quiet of the hospital room, their hearts full of love, Olivia realized that this was the life she had always wanted, the one she had fought for. A life filled with laughter, with love, and with the promise of a future they had built together. And as they looked at their 3 children, all of them surrounded by the warmth of their love, Olivia knew that their story was just beginning. As the months passed with their new addition, little Emma, their lives blossomed even further. Mia and Noah were thrilled to have a new sibling, eagerly helping with the baby, from fetching diapers to reading her bedtime stories. Ethan, who had once been a successful businessman navigating the complexities of his career, now found himself equally immersed in the wonders of fatherhood. He took paternity leave, making sure he was there every step of the way for Olivia, never wanting to miss a single moment. Olivia, too, felt the profound changes in her heart. She was no longer simply surviving day to day, she was thriving, knowing that her family was her greatest achievement. The joy in her home wasn't just the result of Ethan's wealth or success, it was the warmth of their shared moments, the unconditional love they poured into each other. As Emma grew older, she brought her own magic to the household. Her laughter filled every corner, her tiny hands reaching out for her siblings, who were more than happy to oblige. The home was a place of noise, of joy, of the everyday messes that came with a full, busy family. Yet, it felt like the safest, most wonderful place in the world. Ethan, in his quiet moments, often found himself reflecting on the road that had led him here. He thought back to the days when he was chasing success at the cost of personal fulfillment, to the years of uncertainty after Olivia had left, and to the unexpected joy of reuniting with her. But the greatest realization, the one that filled his heart with deep gratitude, was how everything he had once pursued on his own had finally come full circle. Now, he had everything that truly mattered. One evening, as the children slept soundly and Olivia worked on a new project for a non-profit she had started to help homeless women, Ethan came to her with an idea. He'd been thinking about it for months, his mind swirling with possibilities. "Olivia, we've been so lucky to build a life together, and I want to give back. To really leave a legacy," he said, sitting beside her at the kitchen table. She looked up from her work, raising an eyebrow. What do you mean? I've been talking to some of the people I work with, he began, his voice serious yet full of excitement. I think we can do more than just donate to charity. What if we create something that lasts? A foundation. A place for families like ours, for women who need second chances, like you needed. Olivia's eyes softened as she listened to him. The idea was pure and passionate, born from their own experience, from the way life had changed for both of them. You mean, like an organization for women and children, those who need a place to rebuild, to heal, to find a future? Exactly. Ethan smiled, his eyes meeting hers. We've had so many opportunities because of the people in our lives, and now we can be those people for others. We can help give them the tools to start over, just like you did. Maybe even open a shelter, provide education and counseling for families, something that makes a real difference. Olivia sat back in her chair, her heart swelling with pride. She had always wanted to make an impact, but now it felt even more personal. She saw the reflection of her own journey in Ethan's vision, and it stirred something deep within her. We can do it, Ethan, she said softly. Together, we can make it happen. And so, the foundation was born. They named it Second Chances, symbolizing the path they had walked together, the journey from hardship to hope. The impact of second chances was immediate. Families in need found shelter and support, women who had been broken by circumstances found strength through education and mentorship. They provided job training, therapy, and financial aid to those trying to rebuild their lives. Olivia and Ethan poured their hearts into it, traveling across the country to meet families, offer resources, and spread awareness. The twins, now older, were deeply involved as well. They volunteered in the shelter, tutoring children, organizing fundraisers, and working alongside their parents. They understood, even at a young age, that this foundation was more than just a cause, it was a reflection of the values they were being raised with. At one of the foundation's annual events, where they hosted a gala to raise funds for the shelter, Ethan took the stage to speak. His words, humble yet powerful, resonated with everyone in the room. I never imagined my life would look like this, he began, his voice steady but emotional. I had wealth, I had success, but I was empty. Then I met Olivia again, and everything changed. It's because of her strength, her resilience, and her heart that we're standing here today, able to give back. This foundation isn't just a dream for us. It's a lifeline for so many others. And we'll never stop fighting for them. Olivia, sitting at the front, couldn't hold back the tears. She had seen Ethan grow and transform, but hearing him speak about their journey, their purpose, it was a culmination of everything they had worked for, together. As the applause rang out, Olivia glanced at their 3 children, Mia, Noah, and Emma, who sat together, beaming with pride. Their family had come so far, and now, they were doing more than just living their best lives. They were making the world a little bit brighter, one second chance at a time. Years passed, and second chances continued to grow. Ethan and Olivia never stopped working tirelessly to ensure that women and children found a place to rebuild their lives. They expanded the foundation internationally, offering hope and opportunity to even more families in need. As their children grew older, they watched them blossom into young adults who, inspired by their parents, chose paths of their own in service to others. Mia became a social worker, Noah pursued a career in law with a focus on family advocacy, and Emma, with her infectious energy and compassion, wanted to follow in her parents' footsteps, working to bring people together. Through all of it, Olivia and Ethan never forgot the journey that had brought them here, the pain, the heartbreak, the uncertainty, and how it had all led them to this life. They'd learned that love wasn't just about the happy moments, it was about fighting for what mattered, for each other and for the world around them. On a quiet evening, many years later, as they sat together in their living room, looking at old photos of their children and reflecting on the legacy they'd built, Ethan turned to Olivia, his hand resting on hers. Do you ever think about how it all started? He asked softly. She smiled, her heart full as she looked at their family, gathered in the next room. Every day, Ethan. Every single day. And as they sat there, their hands intertwined, Olivia knew that their journey wasn't just a story of love, it was a testament to resilience, to second chances, and to the power of building something greater than themselves. A legacy that would live on, for generations to come. As the years passed, Olivia and Ethan's life continued to overflow with purpose. The foundation, Second Chances, became a beacon of hope for families worldwide. What started as a small, personal mission grew into a powerful movement that spanned continents. They hosted international conferences to share their model of family support, spoke at global summits about social justice, and inspired countless others to start their own initiatives. The twins, now adults, had found their own paths, but their connection to the foundation remained unshakable. Mia and Noah's professional lives were rooted in helping others, and they often traveled with Olivia and Ethan, offering advice and sharing their expertise. Emma, who had once been the baby in the family, was now a young woman with a passion for advocacy. She spent her days working with displaced children, offering them the same opportunity she had been given, a chance at a better life. It was at one of the foundation's annual galas, which had now become a global event, that Olivia found herself sitting beside Ethan, looking out at the sea of guests, all of whom had contributed to making their mission a reality. She had never imagined this kind of life when she was a homeless young woman, struggling to get by. It felt like a dream. Ethan turned to her, his eyes full of love. "Can you believe how far we've come?" She smiled, her heart full. "It still feels like a miracle, doesn't it?" He nodded, his hand squeezing hers. "From the moment I saw you again on that street corner, I knew something incredible was waiting for us. But this is beyond anything I could have imagined." Just then, Mia, Noah, and Emma approached, their faces lit up with excitement and pride. They had come together to present a new initiative for the foundation, one focused on providing education and resources to families facing homelessness in urban areas. "Mia has some big ideas she wants to share," Emma said, grinning. Mia stepped forward, her voice full of enthusiasm as she spoke about the new project. "This is more than just a program, it's a chance to change the way we think about homelessness. We're not just offering a roof over people's heads, we're offering hope, empowerment, and the tools to rebuild their futures. Our vision is to create safe, sustainable communities where families can truly thrive." As she spoke, Olivia couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride. Mia had grown into such an incredible woman, someone who embodied the very principles Olivia and Ethan had fought for. And Noah, standing beside Mia, looked just as committed to continuing their work. Emma, too, was determined to make her mark, carrying the same fire for justice that had inspired Olivia years ago. The gala was a huge success, raising more funds than they'd ever imagined. As the evening came to a close, Olivia and Ethan stood together on the balcony, looking out at the skyline of the city they loved. The same city where their journey had begun, where their lives had intersected in a way neither of them could have predicted. "I never thought we'd get here," Olivia whispered, leaning into Ethan's embrace. "But now, looking back, it's hard to imagine life without everything we've built." Ethan kissed the top of her head, his arms wrapped around her tightly. "We built this, Olivia. All of us, together. And we're going to keep building, for as long as we can." They stood there, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, knowing that their legacy would continue to grow. Their family, their work, and their foundation would carry on long after they were gone. And in that moment, Olivia realized that the second chance they had found all those years ago wasn't just about them, it was about everyone they could help, everyone whose life they could touch. With each passing year, second chances expanded, creating opportunities and offering hope to those who needed it most. The impact of their work rippled out, affecting not just individual lives, but entire communities. As their children continued to take leadership roles in the foundation, Olivia and Ethan could rest easy, knowing that the work they had started would continue to make a difference for generations. In the quiet moments, when the world slowed down and their children were off building their own futures, Olivia and Ethan would often sit together in the living room of their home, reminiscing about the road they'd traveled. Their story wasn't one of perfection, it was one of resilience, love, and the willingness to fight for a brighter tomorrow. And as they looked out over the life they had created, they knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they had everything they needed, each other, their children, and the enduring legacy of love and hope they had built together. Their journey, once filled with uncertainty, had transformed into something extraordinary. And it was only just the beginning.